Hey, Crystal Maiden here, and it's time for part 6 of Zelda 2. And I'm sort of running out of things to talk about, but not entirely. Oh god, I hate that monster. I hate how he's in the very first room, where you're usually not expecting any enemies at all. And these Wizrobes are really annoying because you can only attack them by wasting magic to cast the reflect spell and then reflecting their projectiles back at them and hoping that the projectiles will hit them before they disappear and teleport away. I'd say they're even worse than the blue Wizard of Zelda 1. Although the reflect spell doesn't use up that much magic, so it's not really a big deal using it. I mean, I tried it out, and I've never actually suffered any consequences from using the reflect spell whenever I had to. I hate that enemy. I hate how he lands on the experience bag, and no matter what you do, you can't make him jump out of that hole in the floor so that you can collect the experience bag. And you can't hit him you can't hit him on his head. You can only hit him by crouch stabbing. So it's completely impossible to get him to disappear so that you can collect that experience bag. You can only collect that experience bag if you're lucky. That's one of the hardest bags to get. Yep, you probably thought that was a bottomless pit, but it's actually a gimmick introduced in this game. It's what I like to call chasms. You fall into them, and they bring you to a different floor of the dungeon. This is the first game in the Zelda franchise to introduce that concept. In Zelda 1, all of the dungeons took place on one floor, like it was a Doom game or something. I hate that enemy with all my soul. And you can get hurt when you're trapped in that animation. Yeah, it's another cheap thing about this game is that you can get hurt while you're trapped in animations and during cutscenes. Like, you can get hurt while you have the dialogue box up. A nice thing about the dialogue, though, is that you can actually exit out of dialogue at any point you want. Like, at any point you want, you can press B and cancel out the dialogue. So, it's a very stark contrast from Zelda 1, because you don't have to sit there and listen to all of the magic restores dialogue every time you use her. You can just press B and then immediately press B again and use her. And that's awesome. Every Zelda game should do that. What, is it unrealistic? I don't care. I like convenience. I like when my gameplay is convenient. And I love how fast-paced it is talking to NPCs in this game. Well, aside from the fact that the text scrolls at the speed of molasses. It scrolls so slowly. It scrolls so fucking slowly that I actually I imagine the NPCs voicing their dialogue, speaking really slowly, and speaking like they're bad at English. That's basically how the text comes off, because it scrolls so slowly, and of course it's badly translated. For the most part, the text isn't badly translated enough that you don't understand what's being said. So it's definitely an improvement from Zelda 1. And again, I can't stress enough how much better it is that the dialogue, that you can exit out of dialogue whenever you want. And it doesn't show up automatically as soon as you see an NPC like in Zelda 1, because that sucked. Wow, I talked a lot more than I thought it would. Anyways, there's a lot of changes between the Japanese version and this version. Like there's changes for practically every sound effect. Like the battle entering sound effect, for example. And there's some sprite changes as well. Like the raft riding animation is different in the Japanese version, because in that version of the game, Link is facing south, and it kind of looks like he's sitting on the raft. I prefer the animation that we have, where he's facing forwards. And there's also some minor differences in the temple layout and the enemy placement. I don't really know about that though. I think there's incredibly annoying differences, like in the Japanese version of the game, the title screen, file select screen, and the final dungeon are on side B of the disc. So whenever you start a new file, you have to change to side A of the disc in order to progress and start beating most of the game. So, like, most speedrunners tend to prefer playing the Japanese version of games because the text goes by a lot faster. But in this case, they definitely prefer the regular version of the more well-known version of the game, because not only are there load times in the Japanese version, but you also have to switch the disc from one side to the other when going through the game. And it's pretty confusing how, does the file select screen, final dungeon, and title screen really take up that much space in the disc that you have to confine them to one side of the disc and literally everything else about the game on the other side? You'd think that side A would be extremely massive, and side B would only contain a tiny amount of data, but I don't know. Ugh, I hate when these guys spawn from the statues. And it's not always intuitive what statues you can hit to make red potions and dark nuts appear from them. Like, the statues on top of pillars, they actually can be struck with a sword to good effect. Like, you really wouldn't expect that. You'd think it was just part of the background. And the weird thing is that in the Japanese version, the only text that's Japanese is the actual dialogue of the NPCs. All of the menus are in English, and even the title screen scrolling text is in English. It's extremely badly translated English, but still English for some reason. I always wondered why Japanese games tended to have a lot of English in it, when sure, the population can mostly understand English, but they tend to have their own unique to Japan variety of English that's kind of, it would look like a badly butchered version of the language from our perspective. Like, people call it English. So speakers of English probably wouldn't be as fluent in English. And so, you think they'd have a bit of a hard time understanding games where a lot of the text was in English. Like, I don't know. The boots allow you to walk on water. And the really annoying thing is that you can't walk on all of the tiles of water. There's no way of knowing what tiles you can walk on and what ones you can't. I walked on every single water tile I could, looking for this one heart container. I had to look up a guide to find out exactly where it was. Just do what I did, and you'll get the heart container. But I looked everywhere I possibly could for it. For some reason, walking through the water, it has the same tedious, slow effect of walking through the swamp. Like, I hate the swamp because you walk really slowly through it. Even in the overworld. Even in the overworld, you walk pretty slowly through the swamp. And it's mitigated somewhat by being able to jump, but that's only in the battle area. And I had to look up a guide for this one too. Yeah, I don't know how you're supposed to know that that's there. I mean, it would be intuitive to think that there's only one grotto in the Maze Island, not two. I decided to revisit this place to show you what you may have missed. Like, I I guess I forgot some of the parts of it that I already been to. The outside areas of Zelda 2 don't suffer nearly as much from copy and paste environments. So I guess I didn't really have much of an excuse for forgetting that I went through there already. I guess I was too lazy to look back at the original footage. I don't know. It's good at least that the outside areas are unique. Like, it's just that if there's any part that should be unique, it's the dungeon areas, because it means that if every room is unique, or at least not too similar to the rooms of other dungeons, then that means that it significantly reduces the chance that you're going to spend your time wandering around aimlessly because you forgot what the layout of the dungeon was and forgot what rooms you already went to. Yep, you can save wherever you want, from whenever you want. A lot of things about this game annoy me, but I still like it a lot more than most people do. I think it gets too bad of a rap. It's only after Maze Island when I think that the game starts getting legitimately bad. And only because, for the most part, only because of the copy and paste environments of the dungeons. I can't stress that enough. It's incredibly confusing not having a map in those areas when, because it's a side-scrolling platformer, there's only so many different ways that you can make a room look like. You know? I don't know if they could have, but the overworld areas are all iconic and unique. Why can't the dungeons be like that? Ugh. See ya for the sixth dungeon. Or wait, I can't keep track. See ya for the island dungeon, where it gets bigger and a lot harder to wander around in. Just, ugh.